intel at the time was there was 6 155 millimeter guns that were in position on this beach. And with that distance of gun, they could hit both Utah Beach and Omaha Beach. So one of the first objectives was to take out these guns on Pointe du Hoc. At Pointe du Hoc, Normandy Beach, and the significance of this area is just insurmountable for what it meant for the protection of Utah Beach and Omaha Beach. The very first wave of Army that came on Omaha Beach from the 2nd Battalion led the way here by Lieutenant Colonel Rudder. And Lieutenant Colonel Rudder was one of the highest ranking officers, and he led his men up here to Pointe du Hoc. Just an inspirational officer. These men had practiced scaling these walls, these seawalls at White Island off the coast of England. And they had practiced with ropes, and they had practiced with grenade launching ropes and how to scale these walls. But by the time they actually got here on the morning of June 6th, their ropes had become so waterlogged that then they were firing their grenades up to hit these walls to climb. They weren't going very far, and they weren't getting very far. So they had to start to just scale these walls on their own. One of the most inspirational stories as a naval officer is when the Navy started to see that the men weren't able to take down these areas where all this bombardment was coming from. The Navy ships, the COs of these destroyers, said basically screw it, and got their ships as close to shore as they could, almost running them aground, and started to bombard the back seawall with gunfire because of what the men were enduring on Omaha Beach and Utah Beach. Go Navy. So there's a good example of the seawall over there, what these men had to climb. So with the ropes that weren't getting all the way to the top, they had to scale that on their own with all of their gear. See now when you come here to Pointe du Hoc is you can walk the area of the point. And now this point kind of juts out between Utah Beach and Omaha Beach. It's kind of right in the between both of the American beaches here. And you can walk to some of these bunkers where they were putting up these 155 millimeter guns. They had fortified them with concrete, so they're pretty thick bunkers. So you can walk to those and you can stand on those and you can look out from there and see that. So this monument here is dedicated to those 225 original Rangers that scaled those walls. It's supposed to be representative of the dagger that the Army Rangers carry with them. And when you hear that slogan, Rangers lead the way, that came from this. That came from Pointe du Hoc, that came from World War II. That was the slogan, Rangers lead the way. It was the Rangers who scaled Pointe du Hoc first. It was the Rangers who got in here first and actually were the ones to take this area and contain it first. Now, after they contained this area on June 6th, they basically had to hunker down because the Germans came back and attacked them. And it wasn't until June 8th that they were reinforced and actually able to push back and take control of the whole area. But the Rangers did hold this position and were able to fight off bigger forces and stay here in place until June 8th. battalions that were supposed to be here is 2nd and 5th Battalion. And the agreed upon beforehand was if the 2nd Battalion needed reinforcements, they would get a message to let the other Army Rangers know that they needed them to come here instead of to Omaha Beach. Well, they weren't able to get that message to them, so those other Army Rangers hit Omaha Beach, but they were instrumental in taking Omaha Beach. So it was important that those Rangers were there. They could have been used here for sure, but they were still able to take down the guns here. Now, like I said, there were supposed to be 6 155 millimeter guns here. There actually were only 2 that were built and ready to made, but neither of them were manned at the time. They found one right away, disabled it. They found the second one, again, all its ammunition, and disabled that one as well. So neither of them were able to be used, but again, those guns had such far-reaching range that they could have not only hit Utah and Omaha Beach, they could have hit ships on the outside of Utah and Omaha Beach. So when those Navy destroyer captains decided to push their ships as close as they could to the shore and just hit the shore with gunfire, they were taking great risk, not knowing that these 155 millimeter guns were not being used. I stand in awe of these men and what they did. I stand in awe of these Army Rangers and what they did. It seems like something that just sounds so insanely crazy. And leave it to Army to say, we'll do it. We'll lead the way. By June 8th, this place had been taken by the Americans, no longer a threat. One of those just important moments of the landing at Normandy Beach, and one of those important moments that the French resistance also helped to know the position of these guns and how many there were, and just the location of where they were going to be, just all of that intel coming together. The first wave of men, the first wave of the 225 men, 90 of them survived and actually did it. It's just a testimony to the Army and that they lead the way. Join me again on my next Walk with History.
We are Rangers true under red, white, and blue, and we fight for the right we adore. With our battle cry ringing through the sky, putting freedom on every shore. Oh, when the Rangers come, there's no beat of a drum, but the flash of a cold steel blade. We'll fight, fight, fight for right, right, right. Just another famous Ranger raid.